Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe back on Be Live this morning. And I'm really excited to be here because when I'm on Be Live, I can see what's going on with everyone on Facebook. And it seems like everybody's been on Facebook. And lately, when I've wanted to talk to people, I couldn't. Only the people that actually used the Zoom link could I really see and interact with. So this has been kind of hard for me to figure out what is the best way to go. Good morning, Roseanne, and welcome to the show. The greatest show on earth. That was, by the way, a really good movie. So this morning we're going to talk about a couple of really interesting things. I swear I should have been named Janet Magic Hickox, or Miller was my maiden name, because I so love this energy of magic, and Pisces really does, all of those planets in Pisces really does get me kind of excited about magic. And I want to share something that happened yesterday that was so completely magical that there's no other words to describe it, right? So I'm not sure if I shared with you all that on, let's see, today's Thursday, so it must have been Tuesday. I was looking for my Human Design Ephemeris. It's just this little tiny book. It's really very thin, but it's packed with information for me, right? It tells me where all the planets are, in what gates they are in human design. And that's pretty much how I, determine some of the bigger energies that are at play, as well as using the planets. But, it's like invaluable to me, right? Well, I hadn't used it for a couple of days. And so I went to get it on Tuesday and I couldn't find it. I literally looked everywhere. I took my desk apart. I went down to the floor because sometimes I put work that I'm working on right on the floor next to me. I picked up everything. I have a bookshelf that sits right here in front of me. And I thought, maybe it got mixed up in some of the other books or my notebooks that I use for coaching. Maybe I had it open. I don't know. So I go through every book, literally taking things off the shelf, opening them up, shaking them out, going through every page, going through my files. No book. And I'm like, well, it was only a $13.95 book. I guess I'm buying a new one. So before I went to buy the new one yesterday, I thought I'm going to give it one more cursory look. Couldn't find the thing. So, I said out loud, this is funny because I said this out loud. Okay, guys. And I'm like, okay, I need that book and I'm willing to buy that book. Again, but if someone could please just, find it for me, I would be oh so happy. And then I got busy and I just sort of left that. Good morning, Katie and Suzanne. Good morning. So I just left the whole idea of finding this book, right? Because I knew, all right, well, I'll just go in later or maybe even like today, go in and buy the book again. So later in the afternoon, yesterday was one of my days where I have stacked clients. So I was in between clients and I went really quickly to go do up some dishes because I needed to move around. And I happened to glance over at my microwave and the microwave is telling me it's 222. And I went, oh, isn't that great? I love triple numbers. Thank you. Whatever that message might be. And then I come in here just, now I'm still finishing up dishes, right? So it's maybe, 5 minutes later, I come in and sit down at my computer and I glance down because the screen had, gone back to the protected mode. So I had to put my password in it. And there's the time, 222. And I went, oh, that's crazy. I'm seeing 22 again. And then I happened to think, shoot, I better check my phone because I haven't really looked to see if my husband's messaged me or anything. I pick up my phone and look at it and it says 222 also. And I'm like, okay, there's something really interesting going on here. So I sit back in my chair and I glance up at my bookcase and there is this book. And literally it's tilted out like this at me from between two other books. And it couldn't possibly have been there before that. It couldn't have because I took every book off that shelf. Right? I looked through everything. It wasn't there. But that book was sitting there tipped out at me just like this. And I went, oh my God. I don't remember. I think I was actually with a client at that point in time. And I'm like, you won't believe what just happened. So I have my book back. Thank you very much, angels, gods, whomever brought me back my book. But it was another instance in my life of magic. And I love sharing that with you because literally I am nobody special in the world here. And if I can experience these kinds of magical things in my life, so can you. And the potential now with a lot of planets sitting in Pisces is that there's a lot of opportunity for hi, Katie says her birthday's 2/2. I love it. So this year, so and today's the 22nd, right? So 2/2/2. Ha! Maybe today's the magical day. Ooh, I like that too. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because magic is everywhere. And it is also another bit of a lesson in letting go when we are, let me see if I can frame this. When we're trying to manifest something in our lives, whether it be a little book, $1 million, a new car, a new house, whatever it is, paying off debt. There is magic that's enacted for us when we ask for help, when we go to God or we go to Goddess, whatever your belief system is. It doesn't matter what you call it. You could just be calling on your higher self. Please help me find X. Please help me figure out how, or please show me the way to get debt paid down. Whatever it is that you say, the answers come. And it's almost magical when it happens. I think there's the key. I didn't have an expectation about that book showing up on that bookshelf in that moment. I was okay if it did, certainly, because I needed my book, but I wasn't invested in it. Why? Because I thought, oh, well, if it doesn't show up, I'll just go buy another one. I wasn't really invested in how that book showed up, but I did ask for that book to show up. And then because I always sort of phrase the ending in, and please make it magical so I notice it. Like I like to notice when something's happening on my behalf in a magical way. Of course, they preluded that with showing me 2/2/2 on my microwave, on my computer screen, and on my telephone. I mean, really, it was amazing. So it made me think of something this morning, and I'm not picking on anybody in particular. I'm just saying that I got reached out to this morning by a client whose son is attempting to create something, and it isn't going well. So she was a little bit despairing this morning about that situation. And I just wanted to take her and give her a big hug and say, you know what, just release it. Just release it, because there's other magical ways in which this can happen. We have this very limited view. It's almost like we have blinders on, right? We think things can only come in a certain way. We think that, if we're asking for our bills, the money for our bills to be paid, my immediate thought anyway is that, okay, it's going to come from work. It's going to come from either my husband's going to get a raise maybe, or he's going to have extra hours, or maybe my business is going to get some extra business coming in. It's a natural state for us to automatically want to pigeonhole where we think all of this good can come from. And that's because from our limited human perspective, those are the things that we know of that can bring us this magic. But the universe is far more magical than I think we give it credit for. And Suzanne is saying, I do too. She says, ask the universe out loud. There is something to be said about doing that, Suzanne, and everybody listening, that, asking out loud for what it is you want. And then releasing your attachment to it. Inadvertently, that's what I did, right? This is the key, because often I do this, and I'm sure you guys do this too, is I might release a prayer and then I'm micromanaging it. Like, when's it going to happen? And is it on its way? Oh, and isn't it going to be stellar when it does happen? And all the other ways that I might get myself, into the groove of watching for the answer instead of just letting it go. Right. So I want to encourage everybody, if there's something that you need right now or want right now, I don't care if it's $1 million. I don't care if it's a new vehicle. I don't care if it's one more client. Ask out loud for it to come to you. Release your attachment to how it's going to come, and just watch for the magic, right? And today is a sort of magical day, and I want to tell you something else that's hysterical. So I'm sitting here this morning, and I get this email, and I get I get this email. I mean, really, my life is so much fun sometimes. Other times it's not so much fun, but sometimes it's so much fun. I get this email this morning from this astrologer, and here's what piqued my interest. I'm looking for the email. She says, "Hi, Janet. I'm contacting you because I'm interested in being a guest on your show. I am responsible for getting astrology legalized in Atlanta in 1968. In so doing, I became not only the first licensed astrologer in Georgia, but in the U.S. I was also CNN's on-air astrology in the 1980s. And I mean, she goes on. I don't want to read the whole thing, but what was really fascinating to me is I'm sitting here contemplating talking to you all about magic, and she, in the email, sends me this link to a book she's written called, I'm going to make it as big as I can for y'all to see it. It's called, no, I don't want that. Come back here. It's called Move Into the Magic, right? And the thing, it says, a guide to discovering your life mission. Move into the magic. So do y'all really wonder if there's magic going on? I mean, it's certainly showing up here in my world. And I'm sitting here talking to you all. I'm passing on magic. And so, first of all, I was really fascinated that astrology was ever outlawed or not legal. I mean, what is up with that? I mean, yeah, Georgia, I know you're kind of in the deep South, but really? Astrology being illegal? I can't even fathom that in my lifetime that was something that was real or true. 1968 is when she said they legalized it. It's not like it's marijuana or, opioids or something. I mean, really? So that was weird in of itself. So I want to bring this woman in. Her name, by the way, is Maxine Taylor. And she's a lovely looking woman. I just love her, right? So I'm going to ask her to be on my show, and I'm not sure when that will be, but I would definitely want to be able to share someone like that with you who writes books about my favorite subject, one of my favorite subjects, astrology and magic. Woohoo! Okay, so I'm going to come off my high for a minute and talk to you about some astrology that's going on today. We still have the moon in Taurus. It's in the latter degrees of Taurus, but I want you to kind of tune in because this time the moon is right across from Jupiter, and Jupiter, stirring the pot, bringing things up from the deep for us to look at the jewels that we need to be able to grow beyond where we are. So the secrets that lie hidden maybe in our unconscious mind. So the moon, in this case, opposing Jupiter, bringing us to the possibility of some little jewel coming up for us today. And even it may have already happened. It may be happening some later today, but today has that not only magical quality about it, but also that ability for us to dig in and come back with something. And, in shamanism, I've been on journeys. I don't know if any of you have ever been on a shamanic journey, but one of the shamanic journeys I went on, we were going into the earth, and we were, in a bubble cocoon type thing. We were quite safe, and we were meant to come back with a jewel. And the jewel would have been something that had profound meaning for us, whether it was some belief that we've been challenged by, something that we needed to know about where to go or what to do next in our lives. For some people, it was their spirit animal that they came back with. There were, many different experiences from this shamanic journey. But it was exactly the thought I had about Jupiter in Scorpio opposing the moon, or the moon opposing Jupiter in Scorpio. The ability to come back with something, some jewel, whatever that might be. It could be something just so minor that you just are ready to gloss over it. So I would be very aware today of what is coming up. What little aha or epiphany might you be having? What experience are you having that, takes you into something bigger? I mean, certainly getting an email about magic isn't necessarily, or a book written about magic isn't really that big of a deal. But on top of the other things that have happened over the last couple of days for me, it is really interesting, and what like that might be happening for you, right? That's what I want to know. And that's what I want you to tune into. So the other thing today that's going on, and actually this week has been going on in went over my head because there were too many other fun things to talk about, is the fact that Mars in Sagittarius is squaring Venus in Pisces. And not only Venus, but all the planets in Pisces, because Sagittarius is a sign that's 90 degrees away from Pisces. And you remember, challenges and obstacles, things like that, pop up at us during the 90-degree angle or the 90-degree aspect. And so Mars and Venus, kind of the masculine, in a tiff with the feminine, right? But Pisces is almost overwhelmingly feminine energy. And so it's really empowering the feminine parts of us, the parts of us that are receptive. I'm not talking about the feminine as in, man versus woman. That's not it. I'm talking about the fact that the energy in Pisces is extraordinarily receptive, open to receiving. That's what receptive means, open to receiving. And that might be receiving information from the universe. It might be receiving information from your guides or God or cosmic intelligence, whatever. It might be receiving money. It might be receiving gifts. Who knows? So be open to receive, right? Mars in Sagittarius is sometimes action taken on behalf of beliefs. If you have a belief that nothing ever happens for you when you pray or when you ask for something, then this is the time for you to really work through that, right? Because that's the belief that's running your show. And it's really much more conscious and available to you right now than what we would normally expect, because sometimes those beliefs lie very deep in our unconscious or our subconscious mind, as in it's a pattern that's being repeated day after day without our conscious knowledge. But right now, there's several things happening to bring stuff up to the surface. So you may even be more able to catch yourself in what is the old pattern? What is the pattern that you've enacted? So I encourage everybody to be receptive. Roseanne says, I love being receptive. And indeed, one of a conversation I was having with someone yesterday, she was talking to me about receptivity. And she's the same woman that has done an Akashic record for me and a reading for me. And if you have not hit her up yet for that, please do. Her name, I'll share her link with you guys later today, because it's extraordinary what's happening to me on levels that I can't verbally really express to you. I wish I could. Somebody asked me about what are the changes that I've experienced since I had that reading, and I can't put my finger on them, but they're there nonetheless. And it feels like a shift on the inner planes as opposed to one that's really more external. I expect that it will affect my external at some point, and I'll be able to see, oh yeah, this was the me before and this was the me after. But there's lots shifting on the internal planes. And one of the things that she reminded me of is that I'm here on the planet to learn about being receptive. I went, oh, wow. Right? I'm not that. I like to be the giver. I like to give. I like to do readings, and I like to do things for other people. But I'm living out a 33-6 life path, which is often in service, yes, but also kind of prone to become the doormat, where it's easy for people to use and abuse what I give. And I'm not so much aware of that because I'm in the throes of giving. And then she reminds me about I'm here to learn about being the receiver. And so, well, that pulled me up short. And I thought, isn't that just interesting? Suzanne, I want to talk to you about that. So hold that thought for a minute. Isn't it interesting that right now, with all of these planets in Pisces, we're all being tasked with learning how to be in the receiving end, right? Being the receiver, and that being in receiving is only half of the whole idea of giving. Giving and receiving are the flow of abundance on this planet. It's the way it works. And if you're blocking off one half, if you're blocking off the receiving, then it's harder for you to keep giving. You get into the deficit situation. You're giving from a deficit. Where if you're completely at the other end, then you're receiving and you're receiving, but gifting or giving becomes the deficit. So interesting times that we live in when we're having to deal with this, learning how to be receiving. Now, Suzanne, let's see. I'm going to try to show this comment that you said. She drew a card from the Shadowscapes Tarot deck. I don't think I've ever seen that deck. And she got the Knight of Swords, meaning the Knight of Swords is the brave hero who rushes headlong into conflict to defend his beliefs. He is blunt and comes directly to his point and is incapable of dissemblance. Wow. So truth. Whoops, now I don't know how to get that out of there. There we go. So truth is what we're looking at, right? The truth is that of flow in receiving and giving. That's my truth, at least for today. Roseanne says she wants to be more receptive. Suzanne, maybe you want to flesh that out a little bit more. And if so, and I see it, I will bring it back up. Katie says that she always reminds herself that one cannot be perceptive without being receptive. Oh my gosh, that's profound too, right? Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Katie. And let's see, Suzanne, did you have another comment after that? Yes, Natasha, breathing in, breathing out. Love it. Roseanne, I want to be more receptive. I think we all want to be more receptive, right? Because we're so, especially most of my listeners happen to be women. Maybe it's because I'm a woman, I don't know. And women are really good at giving. I think we get sort of caught up in the giving. And then when it comes time to give back to ourselves, we are sorely lacking in that, right? How often do you, after doing everything that you do all day long for other people in your life, do you really stop and go, okay, it's my turn, right? It's my turn. And interesting that we do that. And Pisces is reminding us to turn love in toward oneself, to turn compassion also toward oneself, factoring yourself into every equation of things that you're giving and be on the receiving end. Let's see, Suzanne says, chakra, ladies, need to have all of them open. Isn't it, it's just kind of fantastic that that's even coming up, because part of my Akashic Records reading was that my upper chakras are operating at well over 100%. And then when you get to my, the third chakra down, they're operating at less than 50%. That was crazy. Like it's all getting stuck. And it's all getting stuck right here, like between my heart and my solar plexus, and not really making it all the way through. And that bothers me. That bothers me because I kind of feel it in my body sometimes too, that things, like I feel right here, like things are stuck. So chakras, interesting that that's going to be something I'm also going to be working with on myself. Katie says, isn't that also an Aquarius Leo South Node, North Node issue too? Always putting the needs of others before yourself. Absolutely right, Katie. Especially because the Aquarius end, which is what the eclipse was on the 15th, is the giving to the group. And it's the part of it's group consciousness. It's being sort of not invisible, but being a part of the group as opposed to being the individual. The Leo end, however, is about breaking out of the crowd and standing on your own with your own gifts and your own talents. So the trick, the axis of Leo and Aquarius is all about you bringing forward your gifts, your talents, and your specialties, and being able to share that with the group. So you're being a part of the group, but you're also being an individual. So it's really a very big learning lesson for all of us right now to do that. And yes, Roseanne, you have those nodes, exactly right. And that brings me to the other contemplation I had this morning. The North and the South Node have been playing a big role for us on the planet, as in the eclipses are all about the dynamic between the sun and the moon, which give us the North Node and the South Node. And all of you have the North and South Node somewhere in your chart, which kind of points us to your destiny and to the gifts and talents that you brought with you to be able to use to find your destiny in this life. And then you also have the transiting nodes, which right now are across Leo and Aquarius in your chart somewhere as well. So one of the other spectacular things that happened, because I was able to get a hold of my ephemeris again, is that I could tell you what gates were the nodes sitting in, because that's an important piece as well. So I wanted to tell you the North Node is sitting at gate 7, which is a gate of leadership and support. And it's interesting because it takes us into the energy of hierarchies. And if you notice, a lot of the energy, almost all of the leadership energies, as democratic as we think we are in this country, a lot of our energies are about hierarchies. So we are operating at the level of the shadow in that gate, which is division. So hierarchies bring us division, where the higher expressions of the energy in gate 7 of our destiny right now is about guidance and virtue. And I didn't get a chance to really completely contemplate this before I was meeting with you all this morning. So I want us to look at that a little bit deeper. To me, as soon as I hear the word virtue, first of all, I thought of Doreen Virtue. I can't help myself. I went there. But virtue is also, to me, somewhat moralistic. It takes me somewhere around what integrity is about. So I kind of had to look up virtue in the dictionary to see, what does that really mean? And there are all kinds of meanings for virtue, some of which are exactly that: moral excellence, goodness, righteousness. Definitely not the definition that Richard Rudd meant, I'm positive of it, when he's talking about the highest expression of this gate being virtue. Then there's also chastity and virginity, not that one. A particular moral excellence. I think we're getting closer there. A good or admirable quality or property. Okay, we might be getting a little bit closer, but here's where it hit me. That virtue is effective power or potency. And the virtues are also an order of angels, which I never have heard that before. So let's go back to virtue being an effective power or potency, because I like that, right? Not power that's brought because you're in a hierarchy and you're the president and you think you have all this power, but the power that says, okay, we're all in this together. How should we go about settling this? What's going to be in the best interest of everyone? The leaders that are the most successful are the ones who are able to rally the most number of people around them in support of the whole, not just the piece, right? Right now, I feel like the hierarchy is very much kind of tilted toward the people who have a lot of money. And not that they don't deserve to have money, that's not my point, but it seems like that leaves the bulk of people, what do we call that, the 99% versus the 1%. And that seems to have elevated us into some form of hierarchy, where those of us that are in the 99%, even though we make up the most people, feel like we have the least power. And by virtue of oppositions, then the people that have the 1% that have the most wealth have the most power. So this is a dynamic that's in our face, right? It's in our faces. Why? Because destiny is transiting through this gate and it's calling it to our attention. And so it is up to, do you think it's up to our leaders to empower us? Or do you really believe that you can empower yourself? Because there's where virtue comes in. That's where that higher expression comes in this particular gate, is when we are empowering ourselves, because empowering ourselves empowers others around us. So I want to say power to the people. I want to say power to the earth. I want to say, let's do everything we can to empower, and it begins with self-love. It begins with being in receptive mode. Now, the South Node is in an interesting place as well, because obviously if the North Node is transiting right now through Aquarius, through Leo, then the South Node is through Aquarius. And Aquarius, gate 13, is the gate of the listener. And the gate of the listener, the lowest expression is discord. Have you ever been in a group of people where, in Lord of the Rings, there's a perfect example of discord when nobody's listening. They're all talking over one another, trying to decide what it is they're going to do with the ring. And Frodo, in his little voice, says, "I will carry the ring." And that quiet voice ends up silencing this huge group of people that are all fighting in discord. And what we're seeing here is when nobody's listening, you can't listen, by the way, if everybody's talking at the same time. That's why in ancient times there was a talking stick, or a piece of wood that's, while you've got that in your hand, you were the speaker, and that meant everybody else was listening. And then you'd pass that stick along, and the next person would listen or talk while the rest of you listened. Why? Because there's discord when everybody's talking, because you can't hear what's really happening. You can't hear the run jewel of an idea that comes out of it. So there's a reminder here then that listening takes us to the energies of empathy at the highest end, and the energy of discernment as the gift. And so interesting energies afloat out there. I'm going to sit with those two energies of leadership and support, virtue, because that word got me. And I'm also going to sit with discernment and empathy. And I'm sure that I will bring more of that to you, but I'm already 35 minutes into my day. And I need to let you all go and have your day. But in the meantime, be thinking about that on your own. I love it when you guys reach out and tell me things like, Suzanne doing that card reading, spectacular. Katie, your input. Roseanne, your input. Everybody's input. I love it. And I hope I didn't miss anybody. Natasha, you're always giving us input. I love that, which is why I think at least 4 days out of the week, I'm such a Gemini. At least 4 days out of the week, I think I'm going to stick with Be Live and do this way, because I can interact with you all in a way that I can't through the Zoom platform. But the Zoom platform gives me the opportunity to do readings for people. So 1 day a week, I'm going to do readings for people. And Katie, I've got you on my list. And Petra, I've got you on my list. And so I'll pick a day during the week where we do that. I think Tuesday's a good day to do it. Monday, there's always so much to say from the weekend. So I think Tuesdays will be the day that we will use Zoom instead. And you can still use Facebook, because I cast it live to Facebook. But the purpose will be the people who want readings use Zoom so that I can see you and hear you, and you can see and hear me and see your chart, which is the most important thing. I might change that plan. Who knows? I'm a Gemini. I reserve the right to make changes. It's all good. But I am working on a webinar for everybody right now. So maybe I'll ask you guys to weigh in on this. Hi, Michelle. Good morning. Hugs to you too. What would you want me to address first? Because I'm thinking, what do people want to hear about right now? Would you like me to take you through the basics of human design, or would you like me to start taking you through the basics of astrology? You can even say both, but I can't do both at the same time. So please weigh in, on the Facebook page. Just say astrology or human design, because that's going to help me decide what I'm going to actually focus on. I actually have 2 outlines already done. One for astrology and one for human design. I just don't know which ones to bring to you. So I need your input for that. What would you want to hear about? Thank you, Suzanne. I love you. I think you all are amazing, beautiful women, beautiful souls that are here to light up the planet. Let's keep doing that, right? Let's keep opening ourselves up. Let's keep being receptive. And Roseanne, she said, you knew I'd say both. And indeed, I'm sure most of you are going to say that, but please pick one for me to do first, right? The basics of astrology or the basics of human design. And how deep do you want me to go? You can even tell me, hey, this is what I really, really, really want to know. And if I have lots of people that say that, then that's where I will go with it. In the meantime, I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in the mornings. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And I will see you all tomorrow morning, unless my granddaughter needs to go do a modeling gig tomorrow, in which case you'll hear a quick message from me saying, sorry, I got to run to Seattle. I won't be here. I don't know that to be true yet. So for now, it looks like I will be here tomorrow, and we will look at the weekend's forecast. And in the meantime, I wish you all an awesome day. Take care. Bye-bye. Go all the way.